Good evening. The third phase, which is the biggest and perhaps the most crucial phase of the 2019 Lok Sabha elections, have concluded. From the moment the election dates were announced and the Model Code of Conduct came into force until today, one thing has been consistent, and that is the violation of the Model Code of Conduct that's been happening across party lines. Now, some of these violations have been brazen, while others are through loopholes and by circumventing the existing rules of the Model Code of Conduct. Now, this circumvention has been possible because the Model Code of Conduct wasn't written in an age when live television or social media was a reality. But today we are asking, has the Model Code of Conduct become outdated in this age of technology and internet? And is there a need to rewrite that code itself? Take a look.
On the debate tonight, just days ahead of the crucial results, the Model Code of Conduct mocked and blatantly violated, something that is crossing boundaries and happening across political parties. The Congress today alleged that PM Modi made a political speech after casting his vote at Ahmedabad and that it was a violation of Model Code of Conduct.
कल रात को 10:30 बजे हमने लिखित रूप से कंप्लेंट की कि प्रधानमंत्री जी हमेशा, मैं कल रात की बात कर रहा हूँ, ध्यान रहे, कि जब भी वोट करते हैं, वोट के बाद आदर्श संहिता का उल्लंघन करते हुए एक जुलूस निकालते हैं। हमने उस कल रात वाली चिट्ठी में लिखित दिया कि उन्होंने यही प्रक्रिया अपनाई थी 2014 के संसदीय चुनाव में, 2017 के असेंबली चुनाव में। अब ज़बरदस्त बात यह है, भविष्यवाणी हमारी प्रमाणित ऐसे हुई कि आज उनके चुनाव के बाद अपने वोट को दिखाकर इतने लंबे जुलूस में निकले वो। तो हमने इसलिए बताया चुनाव आयोग को कि ही इज़ ए हैबिचुअल, एग्रीजियस, कंप्लीटली अनकेयरिंग ऑफेंडर। और हमने ये निवेदन किया कि तुरंत, घंटों में, दिनों में नहीं, हफ्तों में नहीं, घंटों में प्रतिबंध हो प्रधानमंत्री में। हमारे पुराने याचना जो कि मानी है एक आदेश में चुनाव आयोग ने, आगे भविष्य के लिए भी उनके ऊपर 48 या 72 घंटे का प्रतिबंध होना चाहिए।
But it is not just the ruling party that is taking the Model Code of Conduct for granted. Netas cutting across party lines seems to have no fear of the Election Commission. In another incident, senior Congress leader Mallikarjun Kharge was also accused of violating the Model Code of Conduct after his wife accompanied him inside the polling booth to cast vote. There have been several instances in the past 1 month where Netas have violated Model Code of Conduct. So Mirror now asks, is Model Code of Conduct merely a paper tiger? Why aren't Netas following the Model Code of Conduct? Is it time to overhaul the Model Code of Conduct? Let's debate.
All right, let me introduce the panel joining me tonight. We've got Vivek Reddy from the BJP, Mohammad Khan, spokesperson of the Congress, Amit Khemka, lawyer, S.K. Mendiratta, who's a former legal advisor to the Election Commission, and T.R. Ramchandran, who's a senior journalist. Thank you, all of you, for joining us today. Mr. Mendiratta, let me start with you. In your opinion, this issue of the Model Code of Conduct, given the kind of violations that we've been seeing through this entire election season so far, how important and how crucial do you think, A, this kind of a conversation actually needs to be had, and B, actually going ahead and sort of overhauling the Model Code of Conduct itself?
Actually, this Model Code of Conduct, this has been given to the Election Commission for implementation by the political parties themselves.
Yes.
So in case they feel that any amendment or any modification or improvement is needed, the political parties should sit together with the Election Commission, and then, to my mind perhaps, there is no need for rewriting the Model Code. Because in the present context, when we are taking poll in different phases, we are taking this election, we are seeing the election campaigns, and then repeated violations being made by very important leaders of all political parties, I would say. And there is a need. And then something has to be done to empower the Election Commission further to enforce it with all the emphasis and with all the powers at their command. At present, the model code of conduct can be enforced by the Election Commission only either by just censoring, reprimanding, or warning the leaders who indulge in these things, or by filing some complaints with the police under some sections of the RP Act and also of the IPC. Whereas the Election Commission, once it issues a notice, then that reply comes, and the Election Commission is taking appropriate remedial actions. But when the court of law is taken into this field and then a complaint is lodged, then that further investigation and prosecution is not in the hands of the Election Commission. And that takes years and years. So there is, to my mind, a need for sitting together, having a relook. Of course, not. I don't think this is the appropriate time now for rewriting the model code. But once these elections are over, then another round of elections is also due in some of the states. So before that, I feel there is a need for having a relook at the model code.
Absolutely. Obviously, Mr. Mendiratha, we're talking about elections in the future and not this particular one. But Mr. Ramachandran, if I can come to you, your opening comments on this particular issue. Like Mr. Mendiratha was pointing out, this is a model code of conduct that has been agreed upon by several political parties, in fact. And yet we are seeing such immense amount of violations that have been happening, right from violations that are outright brazen to ones that are obviously finding some sort of loopholes in the conduct, in the code itself, and being done.
I think what has really happened tonight or today is something which is very serious, which is being debated. The very essence of the Election Commission of India and its impartiality has come into question with what Mr. Chandrababu Naidu of the TDP and several other leaders from the opposition are claiming that the VVPATs are not working properly. On the other hand, it is being manipulated, and therefore this whole exercise, needs to be relooked. And the Election Commission, instead of rejecting what has really happened and taking note of the complaints of the leaders, I think an outright rejection of what they feel is not being done properly can create problems. I think the issue is pretty serious, even though the BJP is saying that, this is nothing but the opposition crying foul only because they realize that they are losing these elections.
Right. All right. Before I get in Mr. Khemka to help us understand the legal standing as far as the MCC is concerned, I want to get in the views of our politicians who are on the panel with us today. Mr. Reddy, if I can come to you first, in your mind, is this something that you would be open to reworking the Model Code of Conduct? And my second part of the question is, why is it that we are seeing so many violations across party lines? So before you even start, pointing fingers at one another, let me just say this has been happening across party lines. Why do you think that's happening?
Well, Faye, I think first of all, this election conduct, code of conduct, or the MCC, is a document which is never final. As perhaps the future demands, or the present elections demand, or as things evolve, and as technology evolves, I think there is always scope for reforming the MCC and bringing in more strict and rigorous mechanisms. But one issue on which the MCC has failed overall is curtailing money power, restraining money power in elections. And this has been one bane of the MCC, which has never really found the light of the day, though it has made sincere efforts to this end by putting in expenditure observers and by putting in various other measures. This is one. The second is on the VVPAT system overall, which the previous panelist was stating. I think the VVPAT system has been tested, and it has been tested again and again with certain directions from the Supreme Court, and paper trail has been provided, and there are a number of inner mechanisms, and it proves that the system is foolproof. But if still the opposition wants some more measures, I think it's up to the Commission, because we are very open to the EVPAT system and we are very open to amendments on that. There is no issue on that. But today, the central question that you pose regarding the changes in the MCC, I think it is always open for further reformation, because technology is advancing and we can control more things through technology. But let me tell you one thing, Faye, that with all these amendments in the Model Code of Conduct, we have had substantially a very reformed sort of an election today in India. Wherever we go in India, we don't have these banners, we don't have these buntings, we have a very peaceful election. There is a whispering campaign, people are going door to door, there is a peaceful campaign, there is campaign on social media. I think this is what is election about. Today citizens are saying that, look here, we never felt that we are in election mode like in previous times, with loud screams, loudspeakers howling, and with autos going around. And this is the sort of reformation that the MCC has brought, and it is also good. This is the positive aspect of it.
Okay. Mohammed Khan, your comments as well. Do you believe that political parties are using loopholes in the MCC? Obviously, the MCC was brought about at a time when there was no internet, when there was no live broadcasting, live streaming on the internet. And now they're making use of those loopholes to try and reach out to areas where they shouldn't be at that point in time.
Avni, I think we should be careful not to over-intellectualize the debate. The truth is, election law has been evolving. While the MCC exists, and it's a very good set of rules which give us guidance, the truth is, every year, in fact, almost every other month, the Election Commission issues circulars as part of its executive authority to guide us and clarify positions of law further. We have circulars on the use of digital media, we have circulars on the use of social messaging apps, we have circulars to govern cinematography. All of this has come over time, and the Election Commission keeps issuing them to meet the needs of the hour. So it would be incorrect of us to assume that the entire electoral law is contained only in the MCC. There are several other rules as well. There's the Code of Conduct rules, there's the rules under the Representation of the Peoples Act 1951, there are provisions in the Indian Penal Code. So again, the law is more than equipped to meet the challenge. However, the problem is our Prime Minister, who is a habitual offender. And I'll tell you why. Every single person, regardless of which political party he belongs to, when found in violation of the Election Commission's rules and norms, is taken action against. Regardless of which party they belong to, the Election Commission either suspends them, censures them, takes action against them. But in the case of two individuals, the Prime Minister and Mr. Amit Shah, despite repeated complaints from our end, and we have given over 7 complaints with regard to these two, they take no action. Today, Avni, we argued before the Election Commission and said the law has to be equal for everyone. This man, our Prime Minister, has given hate speeches on Wayanad on April 9th. This man, our Prime Minister, has repeatedly used the defense personnel for his political propaganda, despite the Election Commission issuing 2 circulars on March 9th and March 19th, saying please do not use the defense personnel for political purposes. He's used it again and again. Other people like Yogi Adityanath, Ajay Singh Bisht have been circumscribed and censured by the Election Commission for doing the exact same thing, but not him. Amit Shah does the same thing. He is also not censured. In conclusion, I'd like to say the laws were perfectly fine and working very well. It is only in these last 5 years that we've seen a Prime Minister arrive who has no regard for the institution of the ECI, who has no regard for the electoral laws, and who defies them willy-nilly. That is what everybody is worried about today.
All right. Well, we'll get to the specifics in just a bit, but let me go across to Mr. Khemka at this point. Mr. Khemka, you know, the question really here is that there is no legal standing as far as the MCC itself is concerned, and also when it comes to actually giving it some teeth, the Election Commission has said that it's perhaps not really a good idea, and that would be counterproductive. What is your own view? Do you believe that we are at a time where there needs to be, the MCC itself needs to have more teeth?
Look, let's understand what model code of conduct is, in Hindi, we call it Adarsh Achar Sanghita. Now, this has been given by the political parties, as Mr. Mediratta said, as a compromise formula to the Election Commission, promising the Election Commission that, okay, we will follow this model. But there is no power with the Election Commission to either de-recognize a party or to cancel the candidature of a candidate. There is absolutely no power in case of a violation of a model code of conduct. Model code of conduct has two types of provisions. One on which the elections can be cancelled later on. The others on which the election cannot be cancelled. Now, the problem is that political parties know it very well that what are those provisions where the election of their candidate cannot be challenged. So they keep on violating it in spite of having made a promise to the Election Commission that they all will follow this model code of conduct. They will actually be creating an adarsh. They do not do that. Because they know very well that it does not have the legal teeth. Now, to my mind, unless it is made compulsory code of conduct, unless it is made part of the Representation of People's Act, nothing is going to change. It has to be made compulsory. It has to be a ground for challenging the violation of the model code of conduct should be made a ground for challenging the election, for de-recognition of the parties as well. Now, where the supreme leaders of a party commit any kind of model code of conduct, in that, or star pracharaks of a party do that, then in that case, the recognition of the party must go. That, unless that is done, unless that kind of strictness is done with model code of conduct, I don't see, we will keep on discussing it election after election and nothing is going to happen.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, Mr. Mediratta, just coming back to you, we are at a time when there is live broadcast, there is live streaming, there's internet, social media, all of that happening here. So my question to you is this, I understand that this is, of course, a multi-phased election, but when you hold a rally in a certain place, is that even allowed when you know that the audience for that rally is not just those who are physically present, but that audience, your speech is prepared in such a way that you want that speech to reach people in constituencies where voting is happening and it's going to be streamed live or it's going to be broadcast live? Isn't that in some way itself also violating the model code of conduct?
See, actually, there are two provisions in law. One is Section 126 of the Representation of the People Act, 1951. That says that during the period of 48 hours from the close of the poll, which we call as a silence period, if anybody shows anything on electronic media, which has the effect of influencing the electoral outcome, then that is an offense. And even the electronic media, which shows they are also responsible for this. Then during that period of 48 hours, you cannot take out any procession, you can't hold any public meetings, but there is a catch. In that section, it is provided that all these things will not be done in the polling area concerned where the poll is going on.
Right.
So, if you do something outside that polling area or the constituency, then that particular section 126 you cannot invoke. Then the second provision is in section 130 of the same act, which says that within a radius of 100 meters on the day of poll, you will not canvass. So outside that, the section 126 may apply if you take out any procession or you hold any public meeting or rally, all those things are there. And insofar as the question of disqualification of candidates, as was being advocated by my previous speaker, there is no law. He is right. Insofar, and as regards the derecognition of political parties, I may say that the political parties are recognized under the provisions of the Election Symbols Reservation and Allotment Order 1968, which the Commission has promulgated under Article 324 of the Constitution. In that particular order, which lays down the grounds for recognition of the political parties, there is also a paragraph which was added during Mr. Sessions' time, that is para 16A. That paragraph gives the power to the Election Commission to suspend the recognition or even to withdraw the recognition of a political party if it violates the Model Code of Conduct or the lawful directions of the Election Commission.
Right.
But that has, at least so far as that particular para is concerned, that has not been invoked so far for the violation of the Model Code of Conduct. Though in some cases, one or two cases, for defiance of the lawful directions of the Commission, that para has been invoked, but not for the violation of the Model Code so far. So
Right.
that provision is there, but then the Election Commission will have to see whether that particular action of the political party, not merely one or two leaders or so, because if you withdraw the recognition or suspend the recognition, you are punishing the entire political party. So the Commission has to weigh
Right.
pros and cons before invoking that provision.
Right, right. Let me bring in Vivek Reddy as well here. Vivek Reddy, you know, the other aspect to this whole thing is one, of course, we're discussing about overhauling the Model Code of Conduct itself, but the other aspect, why are we seeing so many violations day after day after day? Is it just that, you know, the political parties like yourselves are just not worried about the implications or the ramifications of what will happen if the rules are violated, or what is it?
Well, I think, Amni, we have to consider it. There is a two-way answer to this, two split answers to this. First of all, rival political parties are very eager at picking at complaints. So even if there is no violation of the Model Code of Conduct, they would say that there is a violation and they would raise complaints against it, and this would get overhyped normally, sensational, because it creates some sensation, it creates some news, and this is some news-making issue. This is one. The second issue is that like in a football match, the two players are playing, there are bound to be some occasions where a certain political party or a certain team would foul and go slightly beyond the rules. But that doesn't mean that the whole system, whole election must be set aside, set at naught, or there must be a disqualification. This is one. Now look at what has happened here in India today. You find that an instance where Mr. Rahul Gandhi tweets about Nyay, and this has an effect on Wayanad election where he is personally contesting. The rule is that one must stop campaigning within 48 hours. And look at what Mr. Modi did. What Mr. Rahul Gandhi did was complain before the Election Commission. It was a clear violation of the Code of Conduct, because even if he tweets from a far off place, he being a candidate, he must have the responsibility to know that as a candidate he cannot set out anything that will have an impact on polling or that will have an impact that will be called as campaigning. But look at what Mr. Modi did today. He walked out of the booth, he came out beyond the 100 meters, and the media people asked him some questions. He never raised any political issue, though he is the Prime Minister of India and he has been the cause for various programs. All that he said was, look here, the voter ID is more powerful than the IED, and voting in India is a act of purity. It is as purifying as Kumbh Mela. So there is nothing political in this. He has just narrated the positive effects of voting, which is what is contemplated by the Election Commission within the 48 hours. He never said, give me vote. He never said, this is my scheme. But look at the Rahul Gandhi today. He says this is Nyay, this is that, this is this. So here we have the Congress taking this example and rushing to the Election Commission and saying that Mr. Modi has campaigned, he has made a political statement. Is it a political statement? Look at the campaign of lies that the Congress is pouring and the sort of dirty tricks it's playing before the people of India by trying to raise non-issues as complaints. He just walks with the SPG.
All right, Vivek Reddy, you said minor violations. I have a whole list of violations here by the BJP that can definitely not be called minor at all. But I'm going to let Mohammad Khan respond to what you just said. Mohammad Khan, please go ahead.
If I may. Yeah. Vivek, when Rahul ji chose Wayanad as his constituency, the Prime Minister gave what was arguably a hate speech. He said, and I remember on the April 9th, he said, constituency bhi aisi chuni jahan majority minority mein hai. The very same day, Mr. Amit Shah, your party president, comes out and says, ऐसी जगह है जहां जुलूस निकलता है तो पता नहीं लगता है हिंदुस्तान है कि पाकिस्तान है. We can't tell if it's India or Pakistan when a rally is taken out. These are hate speech statements, and you as a lawyer would know they're hit by section 153A of the Indian Penal Code as well. Now, you also know, let's put the hate speeches aside. The Prime Minister has made multiple references to the armed forces. He's spoken about the fact that you have, मैंने उनके घर में घुस के मारा. Armed forces को पहले छूट नहीं होती थी, मैंने दी. He gave multiple speeches. Yesterday, Amit Shah said that Modi ki armed forces, Modi ki Vayu Sena ne घुस के मारा. Sir, I think this is not acceptable. I think any other candidate would have done it. They would have been penalized, and they have. The only reason the Prime Minister and Amit Shah get away with it is because they're abusing their position. The law must apply equally for everyone. These two people, and today, this is the third time he's taken out an election rally on the day of polling. Read section 126 of the Representation of People's Act. 48 hours before closing of polling, you cannot hold a procession or a rally. No election matter can be propagated. Any other candidate would have done this. They would have had a prison sentence of 2 years. But Mr. Modi violates it. These are not things to be proud of, Vivek. This shows you a Prime Minister who has no regard for institutions and laws. And you sit here and you defend him. To remember, आपकी सरकार हमेशा नहीं रहने वाली है. But the damage you do will take decades to undo. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yes, Mr. Reddy, go ahead.
Can I just come back, Amni?
Yes.
Amni, yes. Let me tell you, Mr. Muhammad Khan has the tendency to over-exaggerate things. But one thing is, it is good that we are maintaining the decency of the debate. Let us not let us not interrupt each other. It is good that he has made out his point so that I can react. Let us check whether it is facts. It is also worth checking. First of all, saying that Mr. Rahul Gandhi has chosen minority constituency is not hate speech, my friend. Let me tell you. It can never be construed as hate speech. I don't know what sort of a super sensitive person you are or what sort of super sensitive sentiments you have. It is not hate speech. Please understand the contours and the context. Second is, when Mr. Modi walked out, I was really shocked. People said that Congress made a complaint by about 5 p.m. today. I looked at the video, and the video shows Mr. Modi walking alone, surrounded by SPG. And you call that a procession? What sort of liars you are? Don't you have a limit for your lying? And you say this violates the model code of conduct because he conducted a procession. There is only one person with him, Mr. Amit Shah. And the spontaneously crowd has gathered around. He didn't invite the crowd. They came there. Is it wrong for crowd to gather there? And Mr. Modi to walk amidst the crowd? And you are calling it a procession? I am telling you, please stop these dirty tricks. People of India have had enough of this. These are nothing but cheap tricks. Go out and win the hearts of people. That is what you need to do. Instead of carrying this propaganda of lies.
All right, Mr. Reddy, let me go across to R. Majumdar from Kolkata, who's joining us on the phone line. R. Majumdar, thank you for calling us. Go ahead. What would you like to say?
Just a second.
Yeah, I would just like to say in the context of what has been discussed just now, people are all very quick to criticize Mr. Modi and find fault with Mr. Modi and the BJP government and talk about various violations. At the same time, the speeches of this cricketer of ours, Navjot Singh Sidhu, I don't think there's anything more rabidly communal than what he has been talking about. So when these things are all carrying on, and then our very illustrious scion of the Gandhi family, Mr. Rahul Gandhi, when he keeps on making utterly insensitive and distasteful comments like "Chokidar Chor hai," does he forget the fact that he's referring to the country's current prime minister, and the chair itself commands a certain amount of respect, and it should be in certain ways sacrosanct. But those niceties completely elude this person, and there is now today, I am basically apolitical, but then I have been drawn into the vortex of all this because of the kind of hate speeches I find on the other side. People blindly accusing Modi of everything. Mr. Modi and the BJP are being termed divisive, whereas every other party has been indulging in divisive communal politics shamelessly and brazenly. Now, my point is, the EC, the Model Code of Conduct, the topic of today's discussion is whether it's time to rewrite the Model Code of Conduct. No, there is no question of rewriting the Model Code of Conduct because that is sufficient unto itself. The point it is not being properly enforced, like most laws in the country today. It is not being properly enforced.
All right, all right. Thank you, Mr. Majumdar, for calling us with your perspective. I want to go back to Mr. Khemka at this point. Mr. Khemka, you know, the to and fro that we just saw between Mr. Reddy and Mr. Khan here points out to really the issue at hand here, and that is the way the Model Code of Conduct is interpreted, the kind of powers that the Model Code of Conduct and in turn the EC actually has in taking decisions and in penalizing those concerned here. All of these are issues which are at this point subject to interpretation and can be very ambiguous as well, and that is something clearly that does need to change.
Look, unfortunately for quite some time now, the debate has gone down to that I am not as bad as you are.
Yes.
You are worse than me. Now, that is the whole problem. I used the Hindi words for Model Code of Conduct for that reason alone. The word Adarsh in Hindi included in the Model Code of Adarsh Achar Sanghita. So the Adarsh, where is the Adarsh? I want to ask the representatives of the political parties that what is it which you are supposed to be doing? You are supposed to be setting an example. You are supposed to be setting an adarsh. Are you doing that? I'm not on the literal compliance with the provisions of the Model Code of Conduct. What I want to ask these political parties is that are you setting up that high moral ground? Are you setting up those high morals, examples before the public at large, before the next generation? Are you doing that? That is the question. The question is that when you are doing it, when you are contesting an election, contest it in a manner which is dignified, which actually is exemplary. That is what is supposed to be done by these political parties. But what they are doing is that, look, you were so bad, I'm not that bad. So if that is the level you have stooped low, that pains me. That pains each and every citizen of this country.
Right.
You are supposed to be our leaders. You are supposed to set examples.
Right. Let me bring in Mr. Ramachandran as well. Mr. Ramachandran, what Mr. Khemka was saying really, in a way, sort of really hits the nail on the head is because the fact here that political parties are trying to see where the line is, how much can they push the limit as far as breaking the rules or not breaking the rules are concerned, and nobody is really trying to sort of say that let's follow it, let this be a proper, free and fair election, let's not go against the code and take that road.
Well, I think what you say is highly appreciable. But the fact remains that the complaints that have emanated today from Thiruvananthapuram in Kerala, from UP and few other places is a matter for serious concern. And I think the Election Commission needs to take very serious note of it. At the end of the day, it is entirely up to the Election Commission to ensure free and fair elections, and so far they have held up their prestige, their reputation, and held these elections where people have had few complaints. I think the matter that has been raised today is serious. It requires the attention of the Election Commission, and if there are certain doubts that have been raised by certain political parties, those doubts need to be addressed, and they need to be satisfied that the EVMs cannot be manipulated. That is the issue that has arisen in a very big way today.
All right, we're out of time, so that's the final word as far as this issue is concerned. But, you know, the issue here is one part, in my opinion, one part is this issue of whether or not the Model Code of Conduct needs to be rewritten. But the other part, of course, is the attitude of our politicians, and that is an extremely big worry as well. The attitude here is to see who can push the line the furthest, who can, without being penalized, who has made worse mistakes than the other political party. And those are the issues that the political parties are really looking at, and not looking at how to actually uphold the Model Code of Conduct, a code which they have all agreed to abide by. And that is the big issue as well that I leave you with. Those are the questions that we need to think about. But let's turn our focus to the biggest phase in Lok Sabha elections that was conducted today. 117 seats went to polls in what could be the most decisive phase. All parliamentary constituencies in Gujarat, Kerala and Goa went to polls, and several key constituencies in West Bengal, Uttar Pradesh and Karnataka also voted today. Now, despite violence in various parts of the state, West Bengal saw a high voter turnout of 79.36%. Other states like Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh, Gujarat also saw a voter turnout of 56.5% 57% and 60% respectively.
Well, I'm joined by Sharad Yadav, who's the RJD candidate from Madhepura, and Sharad ji is along with his family members here, his daughter, son-in-law, everyone who's campaigned extensively in Madhepura. Sharad ji, जो लड़ाई है मधेपुरा की 2019 की, किस चीज़ की लड़ाई है?
ये एक क्षेत्र की लड़ाई नहीं है। ये तो यहाँ क्षेत्र में पार्लियामेंट में जाना इसलिए लड़ रहे हैं। ये देश भर की लड़ाई है। ये बेकार नौजवानों की लड़ाई है, किसान की बदहाली की लड़ाई है। ये समाज में जो समरसता है उस समरसता को ध्वस्त कर दिया इन लोगों ने। और चेहरा अब सामने आ गया प्रज्ञा ठाकुर का, वो असली चेहरा इनका है। इसलिए मुद्दे जो हैं वो भारत की जो जनता है उसकी ज़िंदगी, नोटबंदी, GST, इन्हें एक नहीं, इन्हें उसकी तबाही तो की है इन्होंने, अपने वादे पूरे नहीं किए और लगातार 5 साल कोशिश की है कि हिंदू मुसलमान देश में, हिंदू मुसलमान पाकिस्तान के नाम पर, कश्मीर के नाम पर, यानी ये पार्टी का इकोनॉमिक माइंड है ही नहीं, ये कम्युनल माइंड इसका है। तो इसने सारी संस्थाओं को, चाहे वो CBI है, चाहे वो जुडिशरी है, चाहे वो कोई संस्था थी, हर एक संस्था को इन्होंने किसी न किसी तरह से कमज़ोर किया है।
शरद जी, मधेपुरा की बात करें तो नीतीश कुमार पिछले 2 हफ्ते से यहाँ लगातार कैंप कर रहे थे। क्या वो कहीं अहम की लड़ाई बना लिए हैं इसको, क्योंकि शरद यादव को ही हराना है यहाँ से?
नहीं, मैं ये नहीं मानता। ये आज़ादी आदमी को आज जो उन्होंने गठबंधन तोड़ा है उसके खिलाफ हम खड़े हुए। तो वो अपना जो बदले हैं या जो अपना गठबंधन को तोड़े हैं उसको जस्टिफाइड वो करेंगे। हमारा काम है कि वो गठबंधन तोड़ना, 11 करोड़ लोगों के विश्वास को और 11 करोड़ लोगों के जनादेश को एक तरह से कुचलना है।
We have with us Supriya Sule right now. We wanted to ask you, first time ever the BJP has actually fielded someone here.
True. In my first election also BJP contested against me.
Last time they did not field, when they had a wave.
They did.
In the wave they did not field, but this time they are fielding. So do you think that they are trying to challenge you? What is your...
It's a democracy. What's wrong with it?
So you're quite unfazed about it.
No, clearly, it's a democracy. So why? I mean, it would be wrong of me to react any other way.
Okay, ma'am. Throughout the entire campaign, we have seen that there have been many personal jibes against Sharad Pawar, and it seems like a Sharad Pawar versus Modi battle in Maharashtra right now. How do you see this, and why has this come down to this?
No, it's clearly because Mr. Pawar is the like a leader that matters. So clearly in 50 years of Maharashtra politics, unless you criticize Mr. Pawar, you don't get an headline in this state.
Do you feel that compared to 2014 when there was a wave, has the NCP seen some sort of resurgence? Is that what you see when you have been campaigning?
You will see the Congress and NCP will do exceptionally well in Maharashtra and the country.
Okay. What are your hopes from your seat? What sort of margin are you expecting?
Well, we will do exceptionally well in the state, and I thank all my voters for showing the confidence and the faith in me. And my work is what, and my work and my parliamentary performance is what I have taken to my people.
Well, the highly sensitive Murshidabad area in West Bengal witnessed violence during polling today. Residents locked themselves in a poll booth after TMC and Congress workers allegedly hurled bricks at paramilitary forces stationed in the region. In another instance, 3 TMC workers were injured after a crude bomb was hurled at them in Murshidabad. They have been admitted to a hospital. We leave you with this report filed by my colleague Shesi.
Well, we are in Rani Nagar right now, and we were passing by, we were checking all the booths because there is excessive deployment of paramilitary forces here in Murshidabad. About 96% of the booths are covered. When we were crossing by, we saw that the paramilitary forces were in the center of the road. When we went and asked the locals what was happening, they said that bricks were being hurled. You can see these bricks here lying. There were more bricks on the road which have been removed. These bricks were being hurled by the locals. The booth number 206 over here in Rani Nagar has been closed down. You can see the cops here. The locals over here have shut the booth. We will try and speak to them. कुछ पहले क्या हुआ यहाँ पे? अभी 2 बॉम्ब्स चले, गोलीबाजी भी हो रहा है. क्या हुआ?
क्या हुआ? प्रथमे এখানে জ্যাম করছিল, দুই পার্টিতে ঝগড়া হচ্ছিল।
कौन सा पार्टी थे?
मैंने দুজন बोल
एक आदमी नमाज पढ़ने के लिए गया था, अंदर वोट देने के लिए गया। उस टाइम वो अंदर वोट देने के लिए बाहर आया तो 2 पार्टी इधर आके लफड़ा किया।
कौन से पार्टी के थे?
टीएमसी का, कांग्रेस का है। दोनों पार्टी का है। दोनों पार्टी का इधर लफड़ा किया। लफड़ा करने के बाद फिर पुलिस को चार्ज किया, इटकल चार्ज किया। यही बात है, ठीक है? तो हम लोग इधर से वोट देने के लिए आया, लफड़ा करने के लिए।
So we were talking to these locals. They said that they had come here to vote when bricks were hurled at the paramilitary forces. Now they've closed themselves in this particular place. The collapsible was shut. Just after that, a team of police came here, and just moments after that, there were 2 live bombings that were captured, and more paramilitary forces were called out over here. This is 206, the booth that we are reporting from in Rani Nagar. Right opposite is 207. The paramilitary forces came out from 207 to assess what the situation is. The police have stationed a vehicle here, but we saw 2 crude bombs go off live when we were here talking to the local residents. The locals have been removed by the cops, and this is the situation on ground here in Rani Nagar in Murshidabad district. Paramilitary forces who have been deployed here have been saying that the bricks were hurled from this particular area. The cops have come here and they are trying to assess the situation, and you heard the crude bomb there. That was the crude bomb that just exploded there. As you can see the thick smoke there. The cops are going in and people are आराम से भागो मत, आराम से अंदर जाइए आप लोग. You just heard the crude bomb that exploded there at that point. I'm going to ask my camera person to be a little safe. Sudarshan da, please आराम से जाइए. The cops are here. क्या हो रहा है यहाँ पे? क्या हो रहा है यहाँ पे? Oh, that's the second crude bomb that's heard. You could hear that. The situation here in Rani Nagar is quite tense. Very few cops that have gone in. We will try and go a little closer. Okay, we are going to just be here and we are going to see what's happening. In the meantime, we are just going to ask the locals what the situation is here. There are crude bombs that are being hurled. The situation is tense. Paramilitary forces are here. Cops have come in, but still we can see the kind of uneasiness and tension that has been brewing in this place. The people, the locals are running into a safer place.